background.
Yeah.
Like literally, like right now I know my hands are there, but like they are genuinely blending in with the background.
It's because it's a small screen though as well, so.
Yeah, 100%. Like I really like the idea one day. You know when you get those like editing things where you can take out green.
Yeah.
You can take out white. It would just be this top floating behind a door.
It's Friday from a converted bedroom somewhere in the south of England, only slightly edited and not at all live. They're the cream in your coffee, the double 6 to your snake eyes, the 22 to your 21, what were we on? Jan Michael Pheasants of board games. They've settled Catan, the Sultans of Snakes and Ladders. They're really good at rock, paper, scissors. The Ayatollahs of Agricola, the Betrayers at House on the Hill, the Kings of Tokyo, the Lords of Waterdeep. They are men at work. They put the bang in bang. The champions of the wild, the employers of fun. They always have a ticket to ride. Your favourite podcast. It's the Everybody Dice podcast.
So it still amazes me that you can do this without failing, because I would get to... I honestly would get to, like, Can we do a do-over? Okay.
Well, I did do it just then, hey,
I really
we're just
like the
rolling
idea.
with it.
We need a little person just to stay in the corner and be like, line, Jan Michael Vincent. Oh, okay, Jan Michael Vincent. Keep rolling, this is gold, we'll just keep going.
And literally, we will pay them in, I don't know, hamburgers.
I don't want to say hamburgers, because hamburgers are quite a premium price at the moment.
They are, actually.
Vegetables, homegrown vegetables. Not from my garden, from someone else's we find.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. That way if they're vegan as well. Hey,
Yeah, 100%. And
job's done.
Vegetarian, what is the name? Veganuary?
I've seen loads of different... Did I see there's one called Bogan or something like that?
Bogan?
I don't know what it is.
I have heard of that. What is Bogan?
Yeah. But you've got gluten-free, dairy-free, all this jazz.
Everything that you could require. I can't think of anything, man.
Everything that needs to be removed from a diet. There is a group out there to support your needs.
Yeah.
I don't even know what a bogan is. I've just seen it thrown around a lot.
I have heard of it. What is Bogan?
Yeah.
Carry on, I'm going to have a look what Bogan is.
Whilst he's thinking about that, how about we talk about what we've been playing?
You talk and I'll look for Bogan.
Okay. Right. So, the first game I want to talk about that I have been playing, because actually there's been a fair bit that we've been playing recently. Admittedly, we've got, 4?
Right,
Come on,
so,
interrupt it.
I think I've spelt this wrong, but Bogan. An uncouth or unsophisticated person regarded as being low of social status. Some Bogans yelled at us from their cars!
Do you know what? You haven't spelt that incorrectly. It's just not a dietary thing at all.
Well, apparently, Bogans are just... youths.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. I'm not going on that diet.
No, definitely not.
Although I do like yelling out of a car.
Or eating youths.
If needs must.
Yeah, okay. What is it? At least when the end of the world comes, we know Ian's interested in eating the elderly.
Yeah, well,
You'll be eating the young'uns.
So anyone between 25 and 30, you're pretty much safe.
Yeah.
At this point.
Cannibalism. Anyway, let's talk about some games. First game I want to talk about is Klask, because we've both played a little bit of this independently of one another.
Yeah, so Steve told me that he was getting another... Well, I guess it's a dexterity game, isn't it?
It is another dexterity game, yeah.
And obviously after the Hyper Crocodile, which everyone seems to love and is easy to pick up.
Yes.
He was like, "Oh, I'm getting this smaller version. It's a bit more like neater and kind of smaller." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." It's from the Netherlands, and I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant."
It's from Denmark.
Is it from Denmark?
It's Danes, yes.
I've already made
I'm so sorry. I've already made this mistake on an unboxing video. So.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, wrong place. Yeah, so it's from that area. I'm not going to even just tiptoe over that.
Yeah.
Sure. And basically, we had a couple of games on it, and I instantly ordered one.
Yeah.
And decided to start my own adventure with it, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I played it. You played it with your girlfriend's parents?
Parents, family. We started like an impromptu kind of tournament in a way. Winner stayed on. Once again, always my girlfriend first time. Every time she plays a game, wins. Soon got crushed, which was fantastic, and really enjoyed that. But yeah, about 4 or 5 people, and basically what I did Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I left it on their table, just out in the open. Initially, people kind of went, "Oh, I don't know what that is," and then more and more people go, "What is that? Let me show you." And it was 5 minutes to teach, not even that.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Excuse me. And from that point on, And the best way is just literally go, "Okay, yeah, sit down. I'll show you." And that's it. Before you know it, you've done 6 rounds.
Yeah, it's okay. So the premise of it is it's kind of like table football. So in other words, you've got magnetized pieces. So you've got a little handle that's underneath the actual table, and you're moving around this piece that's on top of the board. And like any kind of table football game, the aim is to get the ball into the hole or the goal. Except the goal in this one is a hole in the centre of the board.
Yeah, almost like a golf,
Yeah.
a golf hole, pretty much.
Yeah. What you have is 3 little bits in the middle which are called biscuits, which are little tiny magnets. That if you get 2 of them caught onto your little piece, it's a point to the other team. Also, if you accidentally steer your guy into your goal, then that also is a point to the other team. Then obviously you've got it through general scoring as well.
That's the Klask, isn't it?
That's the Klask. That's Klask.
Klask.
But essentially, the little biscuits in the centre of a board are kind of what makes this game.
Yeah, there's. Although we've not done it, you've seen videos of it.
Yeah.
People use them tactically. There we go. Thank you. My English no good no more.
You speak good English.
Oh, thank you. Thanking I. Basically, where they have like little dots at the top to indicate that is the way to put them up. So they sort of face up, say, and then on the bottom side, obviously it's the opposite side of the magnet, so it kind of repels. So if you are clever, and it can kind of happen, and we've seen it somewhat do it, not as well as it could do, you can knock them upside down, so essentially they then become an opposed magnet. Yeah. So you can then, if you're very quick and very smooth, can kind of knock it towards someone else. So you ricochet it almost, because it doesn't connect to yours, to theirs. And I love that. I love the fact that you can almost bait someone in, and as soon as they kind of move, you knock it so hard that it kind of travels across and then flips up and hits them.
To be honest, it's not just that as well. You can also kind of use the ball to knock more pieces into the other half, so that you're going to make it harder for other people to be able to move around the board. It's really clever.
Yeah,
really good design.
Such a small game, which is essentially the pitch is like that long, that wide and that long, which is just slightly bigger than A4, I would say, and it's incredible. Like they've got like a little divider in the middle underneath, so you can never actually sort of make your fist go over to the other side. So when you're holding your player, you're not really going to be able to try and cross over their line. There are parts where you hit it so hard that your dude just flies on down the rest of the pitch, and that's fun as well because you're like, ah!
Yeah, that's the other thing. You also give a point to the other team if you lose control of your piece and you can't recover from it.
But there are some amazing things you can do with it. I figured out that you can knock him down and he'll fall off his magnet, but if you're quick enough and spin it, he'll spin back up and land on his magnet.
Yes, I've seen that.
That is insane.
Yeah, because I was actually finding I wasn't holding the magnet on the bottom up against the board.
If you leave it
like just
an inch
slightly
almost
off or something like that, it actually moves even smoother almost. But it's harder to control, so you do run that risk of just losing it. Yeah, there is that risk, so it's risky, but it is.
It feels like it's kind of it's a strange concept. I recommend trying it out at some point.
To be honest, it's kind of like if you were going to start comparing Klask to Crocodile, they are both so different.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you would fully be justified in having both in your collection, I would say.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
However, Klask is so much cheaper and so much more accessible.
More portable.
Yes.
Because it doesn't need building, which is interesting. I mean, I know the Crocodile table doesn't need building either, but the Crocodile table, your one especially, is a big unit to transport. And currently there isn't a bag for it. We don't have anything to sort of control it.
Yeah.
Sorry, not control it, carry it. The box that the Klask comes in is pretty much self-contained. It's the size of what it needs. It's got a handle.
It has got a
You
neat
just
little
literally
handle.
pull it out, put it on the table, and it's done. And a little bag to carry the pieces, and that's it. So realistically, that's pretty easy to transport. You can take it anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not intrusive enough that it would mean that you'd be kind of causing a scene if you were to take it to a pub, for instance. Whereas Crocodile is a bit bigger and a bit, it fits nicely on tables. So this is the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to something else. We played Judge Dredd Helter Skelter.
We did, yes. So you guys played it with a 2-player, and then we added me in, didn't we?
Yes.
Later on. Well, the next time round.
Mm.
I really love the game. It's quite quick. It's quite easy to pick up. I absolutely love the miniatures, even though they're not a massive part. Well, they are a massive part of it.
The miniatures look great. The fact that they come washed means
Yeah, the detail's so incredible.
even if you don't paint your miniatures, you've still got something that looks
I
really
don't think
cool
you
on
should
the board.
paint them either. I think with the inking, it looks fantastic. Like, this is not the first game we've played that had little ink miniatures.
No, it's not.
Unmatched. The one I had.
yeah.
Again, just little miniatures, probably about the same size actually, inked, and the detail quality on them looks amazing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the thing to say is, if you've played Wildlands before, there's nothing new here. It's pretty much a reskin. So really, if you've already got Wildlands, the only reason you'd probably be buying this is if you just really like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, or Strontium Dog. I mean, this was the other thing. Didn't realise it was only. I assumed it was just Judge Dredd, but it's pretty much a lot of the AD stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so you've got obviously Judge Dredd, Strontium Dog, Slain, and Nicola Dante, which is the only one which I'm not very familiar with.
Very cool looking concept though. Is that the vampire ones?
I don't think.
Who was the one you played as?
I was the Slain faction.
Yeah, so they're the vampire ones.
It's not really vampire. No, they're kind of more just old school barbarian. I think Conan the Barbarian.
Oh no, not your one. The one that we weren't playing as. There was a card in there that allowed
yeah. That will be Nikolai Dante. The vampire was actually part of the Strontium Dog.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Ah, never mind.
That was Durham Red.
There was the female.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Never mind. My bad.
But yeah, it's a great game. Really, really good. The combat is so easy to pick up and forces you into making tough choices all the time. It's completely diceless, I will say. So in other words, you know what you have in your hand. You know when someone attacks you. If you're going to be playing a defense card, it gives you one less card to be able to play with in your next turn.
Yeah.
So, and likewise, if you blow your entire turn using all your cards, you know you're completely open to being attacked as well. Although you do draw 3 cards at the end of your turn, so you would have something in your hand to be able to defend yourself with.
Essentially, you'd have to end your turn initially before even starting it.
And that would leave you with 3 cards to be able to defend yourself with, and especially if you're playing in a 4-player game. So, as a 2-player game, it's tactical. You genuinely feel like you have to outwit your other opponent, because you know as soon as your turn's over, you have your cards to defend against them with, and then it's on to your turn again, so then you can play your cards in your hand. However, when you start playing with 3 or 4 players, it's a long time until it gets back around to your turn. So you really have to plan in advance how many cards you're going to keep in your hand for defense, because there's a very good chance it could come back to your turn and you've got no cards to be able to play with.
Was it drop to 7?
I think 7 is your hand limit, but you draw 3 cards at the end of your round.
So initially at some point you would have 7, and then after that point...
Yeah. Really, we've got a written review coming of this very soon, so you can find more detailed analysis of the game later. But one thing I will say, if there's one huge drawback to the game, it's that it's very much got that same thing as games like Munchkin, where if everyone on the table decides to gang up on one person, that person's going to be completely isolated and pretty much won't play the game. So you have to be able to play with people that are going to take that in good humour. Otherwise, they're going to have a miserable time and they will hate this game.
This basically happened with us. It wasn't... We're not sure how it would have played out, because we... Basically,
there was a brief moment of frustration, I would say.
So essentially the way it kind of starts out is you choose a couple of numbers and it depicts where you're going to put your point score and things. You need victory points, right? And just happened to be, because of whatever, Steve's were mostly localised to one section.
Yeah.
And because of that, we saw him as an immediate threat. So... Andy basically started out quite a few characters towards where you were, so I had to defend those points really well. I was quite similar. A lot of mine were down at the bottom as well, so I was kind of lucky in that way. But that was the whole problem. It was you were trying to get to yours.
Yeah.
We saw you as the immediate threat, so we were both lynching you a little bit.
Yeah.
And then...
So it meant I think I had a couple of turns where it came back to my turn and I only had like 4 cards in my hand.
Because you were defending or you were doing whatever.
As soon as I play 1 from my hand to attack someone, and they obviously Darryl and Andy would have both had a lot of cards in their hand, so they could easily just block that, and then it's kind of, well, I guess that's my turn, because I don't want to be left completely. Especially when you're under attack all the time, you definitely don't want to be left with only a few cards in your hand. So you're kind of limited to not really taking much of a turn, and then you go through the whole process of then having to wait a while till it gets back to your turn again.
Weirdly though, how many units did you even lose?
I was playing as the Slain faction, so I actually only had 4 models on the board compared to everyone else's 5. I think the other problem with the Slain unit as well is they are very reliant on close combat as well, whereas a lot of the other teams have a lot of ranged attacks. I only really had one person that was close quarters. I think I lost 2 of my characters in that game. I lost the one that was in the centre of the board close to all of my objective tokens.
Oh yeah, the woman or whatever.
Yeah, and I also lost Slain.
Yeah.
Because I managed to, for the first time, I've only actually played twice, and I've played as Slain both times. And this time I really wanted to get the Warp Beast on the board, which is a special ability, and I managed to get him on the board and managed to make a berserk attack before he died. It always feels a bit... it always feels a little bit anticlimactic with him, because it seems like you only get him onto the board once Slain has taken a bit of damage, and because that damage transfers over to the Warp Beast and he's got no more health than Slain, it seems like he dies very, very quickly.
Yeah, you almost like... you almost need to have a whole hand of melee cards.
You do, yeah.
In order to really make him effective.
Yeah.
Which is, again, because it's the luck of the drawers.
Yeah.
But... I mean, I'm biased because I won the game, but I really like the game.
I thought it didn't really taint my enjoyment of the game. I still thought it was really good.
We're just really curious to get a 4th person on to see how chaotic it could be.
I've got a feeling one person will come out of a 4-player game having had a really bad time and not enjoying it.
Possibly, but
I think it will happen.
Oh,
I predict that will 100% happen. Okay.
2020 predictions.
After that, we actually played a bit of Wings of Glory, miniatures game. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, so basically me and Andy have been bitten hard, and we were trying to get as many people on board as possible, and one of the main selling points, as you will, there are extra additional parts, like we didn't explain to you straight away, and you didn't really need to know them until they happen, so like conditions and status conditions and stuff like that. But overall, flying around and general combat is so easy to pick up.
It is, yeah.
There isn't really many rules you need to explain, and because we weren't using like elevation and anything else like that, which a lot of people don't seem to use, but I actually really like it. Yeah, it was really easy, and so it was free against. Well,
it was all against all. A free for all,
and basically. Me and Andy, we didn't even put a dent on one of yours, did we?
One of mine didn't take any damage.
So one plane took no damage, which is crazy. And
my other one only took just over half of its damage, despite the fact that it'd been hit a lot. I just got the luck of the draw of getting loads and loads of zeros.
This is the thing, yeah. So because it's not dice based and because it's just card drawn, you don't have to tell people the final score until the end if it's 16 or 15 or whatever.
It's got a really interesting system in it, in that when you're shot, you're hit. There's no defense or anything like that. You just take damage, and
I think that's a nice idea because you're not having to. There are certain things, obviously. So, like you were saying, you drew a load of zeros, so it means you weren't technically getting hit. There were misses. That's really, really cool. But I think there's the other things that are kind of cool. So, like, I had a plane that only could fire backwards. I literally only learned there and then. So essentially, head-ons with me were ridiculous because I was just getting pelted at from the front, and it wasn't until I could pass them that I could do a shot.
Yeah. Which
was good for small ships that couldn't. Planes. Small planes that didn't have any rear turrets, but it was no point against your. You had the one, didn't you, with the 2? Did we give you the double?
I had the double.
Yeah. So he had a double, which was both front and back, so it made him a bit more. Well, you could basically apply yourself to any situation, which is really good. But the thing that does actually kind of become a bit more thoughtful in a way is when you get jammed. So you got your rear gun jammed quite a bit, which then means, okay, well now we know behind him is perfect, it's his blind spot, and I got my rear gun jammed, so I was essentially just a floating target. So there are little things, and it's really good fun, and we're going to hope to get more people playing it, even if it's just with our own stuff.
So one thing I will say about this game is it's in direct competition with X-Wing.
Oh, 100%.
Which is like to be honest, when you go around and look at sites and look at their best miniatures games and stuff like that, the only constant is X-Wing. It's the only constant I ever see on every single list. And the thing about this is, I don't feel like I've played enough of Eevee yet to really decide as to which one's better.
No, weirdly, me and Andy prefer it to X-Wing, only because X-Wing has a bit more...
It's a bit more rulesy, is X-Wing.
A little bit more rulesy, and also there's...
I would argue that there's less random elements to X-Wing.
Yes, because you can control the dice a bit more.
Yeah.
How... We've not actually played it with characters. Characters do have extra control over stuff.
Yeah, we'll give that... I
Yeah.
definitely, like I said, I haven't really made up my mind yet as to which one I prefer, because I haven't played enough of... To be honest, I haven't really even played enough of X-Wing. As much as I've played X-Wing a hell of a lot more than I've played Wings of Glory.
I think we're going to get back into that soon, because we've all
Yeah.
got second edition stuff, haven't we?
Yeah. Yep.
You got...
I've got second edition stuff.
Yeah,
I've
so-
only got second edition stuff.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I've
Yeah.
bought the new Jedi. Well, not the new Jedi, but I bought some old Jedi stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. No, I'm gonna leave that to the news.
Okay, cool. Right, let's move on. Actually, yeah, I think you and Andy played a game. I
Cruel
didn't.
Seas.
I watched. Yeah, you guys played Cruel Seas.
Yeah. So a little while back, we went to play the Black Seas, wasn't it?
Yes.
Black Seas.
Yeah.
Which is their newer version of like the pirate. Well, not even pirate actually. I suppose it's like ship combat that sort of set.
Yeah.
I don't even know when actually.
Kind of. Oh.
It's
the
like
period-
it's like galleons and the Spanish.
It is, yeah.
And the British, that kind of stuff. Not pirates, but you know.
It's
that
pretty
kind
much a sea combat game,
of...
but
Yeah.
based in.
So it was good, but we found it a little bit too rulesy, I guess you could say.
We talked about it on a previous podcast.
We did, yeah. So Andy's been looking at the World War One equivalent of it, and essentially he got that as the starter set, and we had quite a good game on it. There was a little less rules. It's their original version, so there's no. They've obviously changed stuff in the new games. But yeah, it was. We played a little mission, and to be honest with you, it was a little bit simpler, and we found it quite fun. I think we're going to plan on playing a bit more of it. It's just, again, it's another miniature game, and it needs time and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it looks as if there was a lot less to think about in Cruel
Yeah.
Seas compared to Black Seas, which
Yeah, 100%.
I honestly think is probably a good thing.
Well, there wasn't any wind, which was
Yeah.
a good idea, because with the problem is with the original one, which I like, is a good concept. You have to really think about how you're travelling against the wind, and then you obviously roll for wind between each game, turn. And essentially, if you're against the wind, you're screwed. So this is the problem. You can really get pinned down, and I get it. That's more attuned to real life, which is really, really cool. But because these are mostly steam-powered engines, these boats don't need that.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of aspect, which is kind of cool.
And this transitions quite nicely into the next game I think we all played together, which was the Dutch East Indies.
Oh yeah,
Which is a game about privateering. And I hate to say, I've been looking for a good privateering or pirate board game for a long time now. And I haven't found a good one.
I still
And
haven't
it
found what
turns out
looking
I'm
for.
still looking. I know Merchants and Marauders is getting a reprint soon, and most people seem to think that is the best pirating game. I have Libertalia, but I don't really consider that a pirating game, just more of a game with a pirate theme to it. But yeah, this felt really bad. I mean, it's
Right, so
it's enjoyable enough, but there's so much here that I don't like.
we all agreed that it was okay, but we didn't
Except
really...
I think Andy seemed like, no, I really didn't like that.
This is the problem. We said we would play it, but I don't think we'd play it again.
Yeah, it's
And-
pretty much straight on my list of games to sell.
It had nice aspects to it, but there were some things that just...
It left no room to be clever
No.
in the game.
So-
I think you could be clever with... What you could do was you could set up in such a way that you could almost have one ship that would act as a runner and
Which is what
feed
you
into
did.
another ship and bring... Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. And so you can be clever in it in terms of stuff like that. But it's also meant to have a bit of bite to it. It's meant to simulate like privateering and stuff like that, where rival countries would rob one another. But the combat system to it was so bad and
None of us
so
did it.
basic
None of us
that
did it.
no one bothered to do it. Yeah.
So essentially, where we were starting point, I was Spanish, Andy was Was he English?
He was Portuguese.
Portuguese.
And I
So
was
basically,
Dutch.
we were just about this far away from each other, like legit. And we both just went, "I won't if you won't," because you were like, "Oh, this is the way you got to fight." Because there's pirates, NPCs riding around as well.
Which is, again, completely random as to where they're going.
It's random to a point, but they can't move a certain place, so it's really annoying if they're stuck in a corner.
I think what happened in our game, and this is inherently a fault in the game, is the pirates immediately, through random dice rolls, ended up going in the same direction and then stayed clumped together for the entire game.
So it locked out one area, which essentially you could bypass because you were on the other side of the board. So there was a couple of times where you managed to...
I actually couldn't get to one of the islands I did. The only reason that I got spices as quickly as I did was because I took advantage of the trading system
Yeah, that's true.
in the centre island. It's the only reason that...
So because
I got
of
around
that,
that.
I was locked out from a shorter route to the
Yes,
island,
you
so
were.
I couldn't go to that way. Whereas, it was one of those weird things. They never really actually approached up the top where Andy was.
Yeah.
But that then also meant that so you go around island finding jobs or whatever, and then fill them out depending on how they are.
I'll just mention real quickly a little bit behind the game. The aim of the game is to visit islands. One of the things that is really cool about this game is that the map is modular, so you can pick apart and you can make your own maps if you really want to. You can set up your home bases wherever you want. You can set up islands around the archipelago, so it's your own kind of map. But it's kind of, because it's randomly generated as to what goods are on every single island, it means it could favour someone else. Someone could have a relatively easy game where all their spices are popping up as they need it, because the aim of the game is to get 2 of every spice back to your
There's
home
4 in
base.
total, wasn't there?
There is 4, and then pepper is wild and can be exchanged for 1 of your other spices. And the problem is you could have all of your close islands around you just providing you with extra gold, which I think is what happened to you with your first one that you went to.
Essentially, I
and
had
you exchanged your
absolutely
goods
tons of gold,
for.
yeah.
So the first island that you traded with just gave you gold, whereas you could be lucky and the 2 islands closest to you could provide all of the goods that you need. I mean, luckily for me,
They pretty much did, didn't they? Actually,
I think I went around to 4 different islands over the course of the game, and between the 4 islands, I at least got all the things I needed to finish the game. It was whether anyone came to attack me to stop me. But you're put off fighting one another because you can upgrade your ship in it.
which is not a great way of upgrading.
No, you've literally got a numbered track. You can go to the center island carrying the gold, and one thing that is kind of cool that you have to think about is each of your individual ships has a capacity. This includes gold, your
Crates.
goods, your crates that you trade for supplies and things like that. So it means you've got to be really careful about what each ship takes. It means that going and buying an upgrade, there is a certain amount of risk involved because you have to take so much gold with you, so you're not able to do multiple things on the way over there, so on and so forth. But literally, like I said, you have a little track which is a numbered track which determines how far you move, how strong your cannons are, and how much you can carry. So the problem with this game is that combat is resolved by adding your current cannon score to a dice roll, meaning the combat is so random that
The issue
it's hard to risk it, really.
The issue is your base standard ships, the small one and the large one, they're both just under. I think they're one cannon down from the
big
base
pirate ship.
and the little pirate ship. So the pirate
The
ships-
little pirate ship has weaker cannons than your big ship.
yeah. So but your little ship was still under that, I think.
Yes, it was. Yes.
So essentially, if your little ship against little ship, you're still weak. If your big ship against big ship, you're still weak. So then there's this aspect of, okay, well, I'll just upgrade my cannons, which has no... I upgraded one of my cannons because the pirate ships were so close to me the whole time.
Yeah,
I thought,
I
well, I
did the
really
same
have to. So at least we were on par, which meant I had a 6 on my cannons, I think it was, and then I had to roll whatever to the top of it. So it's fine, but the problem was, while we were doing that, Andy was spending his upgrades for his sails. So you only move 3 for the big one, 2 for the little one, which is great, but then you had to... I think
it cost 12 gold or something like that in order
to go
get
up 3 tracks.
Yeah.
The top one, because even though you paid the gold to upgrade, you still stayed at free until the very last upgrade.
Your big ship actually starts the game one speed down from the top speed you can get to by upgrading. Your little ship, I think, is one further down from that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it costs 12 gold in order to move your big ship up from the second most speed to the top most speed.
Yeah.
And that's because there's various stages where your speed actually stays the same, but you're just
paying.
upgrading it bit by bit. But it costs 12 gold in total in order to get that up. And that is... You can't do that in one trip, basically, because you don't have the capacity to be able to carry the gold. So these are the things you have to think about in the game and the things you have to plan for.
I think your biggest one starts out at 7, so I upgraded mine to 8, which is great. But then, realistically, we should have done what you were doing, which was piggybacking between the two. So the little ship carries the remaining gold, then transfer it over to the other one, pay for something, blah, 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 whatever. So I think that was one of the aspects we didn't find. But I think just the upgrades in general just didn't make much difference.
Yeah.
Other than the travel one, which was only, again, an extra space for each ship.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
Again, we'll have a written review coming out of this at some point. That one's not finished or ready to go just yet, but we will have one with a few more detailed thoughts on that. I think we also go into things that I don't want to go into too much here about the component quality if you've got the standard version compared to the kickstarted version, but that's for the written review anyway. The last game I can think of that we played that I can talk about is Letter Jam again. And I think I maintain that this is the best word game out there.
So,
I think Decrypto and Letter Jam are very close.
the problem is they're all very strong word games.
Yeah.
And they're all very strong party games in a way. Or just general end of night games. We find this with these games. The end of the night, people want to go down to like a more simpler game, and all of the kind of word ones tend to be the ones that everyone plays because although you're tired and your brain's kind of frazzled, it's still fun to try and guess the words and try and do this. So
I think what's so good about this though is you don't have to be good linguistically in order to play this game.
Yeah, I mean there is a certain element of it, but we won't go into too much detail because I'm assuming again that we've got something to do with
We're
that.
going to do a video review of this soon, so we won't go into too much detail.
But the first time we ever played it, I think was probably... well, it was the same 3 people, me, Andy and you.
Yeah.
And I haven't laughed that hard in such a long time.
I think the last game that made us laugh that much was Decrypto.
Yeah, purely based on the fact that I am an absolute buffoon and could not figure out one letter. And I had 3 options to start off with what I thought it was. It turns out it was none of those.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, it must be these 2. It has to be this. Okay, I've got it. I went to go commit to my word, and it turns out it was none of those. And then everyone, mainly Andy, was like, "Wow, what are you doing?" Like this kind of thing. And I'm just there going, "Well, hold on, I think my word is what?" Now I realise this makes no sense to you, but obviously we'll explain it later in another video. But just again, simple, really simple game. The thing I find that's a little bit different from this one is obviously it's cooperative.
It is.
Which is kind of nice. It's a nice thing that... Decrypto's cool because you're obviously fighting against each other, and I think that's kind of an interesting concept. Codename's the same. What was the other one? Trap words?
Trap words was the other one, yeah. Where you're team versus team.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I think this is probably one of the only ones I've played so far that you're essentially working as a unit.
I think one of the things that I want to say is that cooperative games are really few and far between in terms of a fully cooperative game.
Yeah.
Where there isn't because one of the big problems of co-op games is the idea of someone quarterbacking it and basically running everything, which you get in games like Zombicide and things like that. You tend to find there's one person running the game and everyone else is along for the ride. Letter Jam has a very clever system in place that stops that.
You are limited to how many times you can do stuff. So.
And also, there's no... Like, one of the games I always think of when it comes to a cooperative game that still puts a point-scoring system in place, so someone is the winningest winner, is the Legendary series of games, the card games, the deck builders.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, you've got the Marvel one, which I've now parted ways with. I've got the Alien one.
I really like that. I've now parted ways with.
Yes.
Can you I don't know about your technical skills, could you put like a little Rest in Peace Marvel game? I'm not going to hold him to that, because that is probably a lot of work.
Yeah, probably, but...
That's the picture. That's the fun now.
Yeah, I suppose so.
A little graveyard of your fallen games.
Yeah, but I've never liked that in cooperative games, that you can have a winningest winner, because all it does is
You still
it
got that
makes
one person
people,
that wants
yeah,
to,
you,
yeah.
you get the one person that wants to win and isn't going to do what's best for the team, and it just causes a bit of chaos in there. But yeah, we'll have a video review of that out before the end of the month, I think. I think. Do you have any other games to talk about that you've played? No,
Just Fro Burrito,
Oh,
Exploding
okay.
Kittens. There was a new one I tried playing, but it turns out I got shafted. I can't remember what the new one is from the Exploding Kittens company, but it's called something like on a scale of 1 to T-Rex. Unfortunately, I made a mistake when I bought the game. It was the last game, and I wanted to get it, and unfortunately, it was already unsealed. I had a quick look in there, checked it, thought all the components were in there because it looked like all the components were in there. What I didn't realise was the bag that was supposed to contain the tokens wasn't a dual set. It was meant to be 2 separate bags of tokens. So I couldn't actually officially play it because I didn't have I have the positive tokens but not the negative tokens, and I need to basically go back to my local shop and see if I can beg them to hopefully give me a replacement, or without them going, well, you've opened it, yeah, but
you can always try the manufacturers. Sometimes they'll send you out.
Yeah, I did that before
replacements.
with Fantasy Flight, and they're actually really, really good. I had French cards.
Okay.
I can't remember why I had French cards. This is the issue of sometimes buying stuff off secondary selling sites, I guess, like Amazon and stuff like that. I ended up getting a French copy.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway, shall we move on to some news?
Le Star Destroyer.
This is the news!
Bom,
Okay.
bom, 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 bom.
So, the first thing I think we want to talk about is Beachhead 2020. We are going to, well, at least me and Darryl and Andy, who has appeared on some of the shows, I think is coming with us as well.
I think he's pretty much coming.
Yep, we will be at Beachhead, which is taking place at the Bournemouth International Centre.
It is local as hell.
It is, and you can actually still find tickets for it at the moment. I think they're going for £7.50 for the Saturday.
There are concessions for children, I think.
Yep, so it's happening on the 8th of February.
Yes, there is technically, it kind of runs over, but
Into the 9th of February. So
Yeah,
the 9th of February is like a tournament day. So in other words, the Saturday, which is the 8th, is kind of for all the vendors and stuff like that. I believe Entoyment are going to be there, Board Game Guru are going to be there, Warlord Games are going to be there.
yeah, there's also a lot of terrain companies that are going to be there, which could be quite sweet.
Yeah, and that's also followed up by an open gaming session in the evening. So I think the main thing runs until 6 o'clock in the evening, I think.
Yeah, and I think from 6 to 10 is the open gaming session. So
Yeah.
basically, I think we were saying we're probably going to take some games with us.
Yeah, I think so.
It might. I know it sounds really silly, but it might be worth taking some bigger games.
I am taking some bigger games. I think I know which games I'm going to take. So by all means, if you see us there and
Yeah, this is the
decide
thing, yeah.
saying, "Hey, do you fancy playing such and such?" Then yeah, we're up for a few games.
I think this is going to be the best way to get other people to play.
Yes, probably.
And maybe make some people friends. Real
Maybe,
friends.
yes.
People friends as opposed to internet friends.
By all means, if you're watching this and you're planning on going to Beachhead, then come over and say hello.
Yes.
Because we are more than happy to say hello back.
Steve will no doubt be wearing a wrestling shirt.
Probably, yes. It does seem to be my vice.
It is, yeah, that and hats.
Yeah,
You've kind of-
I don't wear the hat so often. But
No, the thing is, we're both kind of similar. We have like a cool collection of hats. Yours are zany and wacky hats.
Yeah.
And I favour
Russian military hats.
communist hats. I think communism hats. I've got a fascination with anything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, Russian, Korean, Mongolian, stuff like that. I just love those hats.
Yeah. So by all means, Beachhead 2020 at the Bournemouth International Centre. We'll have links in the description below.
Yes.
And please come along and support it. It's a really good event.
I
so-
don't think there's a ticket limit at the moment, and I'm pretty sure it said that they stop on the 7th, so the Friday before. So you pretty much got quite a while to purchase them.
Yes.
So have a little look, and I think there's quite a lot of vendors there now.
Yes, there is. Okay, next off, we are going to visit one of my favourite games of 2019.
It is, honestly, Steve, I think if Steve could marry this game legally,
Wingspan.
I think he would.
Okay, so Elizabeth Hargrave has announced her next game following Wingspan, and it is going to be a game about butterflies called Mariposa. It's currently aiming to be out by about the third quarter of the year, I think, but this is no doubt going to attract
Game of the
a
year
lot
again.
of people. Well, I don't know whether Wingspan has been winning Game of the Year. I think it has in some. I don't know whether it has across the board. I know it's certainly one of the most popular games of the year, but sadly one that I didn't really get on with.
I've yet to play it. I don't know if I will.
I'm probably going to be selling it fairly soon, so
I don't. Yeah.
we'll see. I just really wasn't blown away by it at all. I think I'm more inclined to go for another Stone Mayor game from last year that I really wish I'd played. I didn't get a chance to, called Tapestry.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this one.
Looks great. It looks amazing, but sadly I didn't get a chance to play it. So, actually, yeah, whilst we're talking about news, we actually do have our games of 2019 coming up fairly soon. We were hoping to have it done for this one, but we want to do it at a time when both me, Darryl, all three, me, Darryl, and Ian were all free, so we could all give our rundown of our top 10 games of 2019.
I really like the idea we're going to
couldn't
have to
just yet.
really go. Basically, we're toying with the idea of green screening, and I really like the idea we're going to have to green screen Ian in, but just as a floating head in between the three of
Yeah.
us, and just have his like voice come off a recorder.
I don't think we can throw down an hour-long conference call with him.
No, we'll pre-record it.
We'll pre-record it.
Just
okay.
like when we had Ian 2.0,
Yeah.
just his comments on what his like we'll throw. Yeah. Anyway, we'll work it out.
Yeah, but it looks like what it is. It will put players in control of a flock of monarch butterflies as they make their traditional migration from Mexico to eastern North America and then back again. Scoring will play out over 3 rounds, split between spring, summer, and fall. Okay, so really there's not a great deal about this game really out there at the moment, other than those few bits, really. This was taken from comicbook.com, so again, we'll put links in the description if you want to see the full story.
I think the problem I've got at the moment is, although not played Wingspan, the appeal of the theme
I like the theme.
is really pulling me in, and the butterfly theme on this would be really good. I would equally play a game about bees.
Yeah.
I think there's this whole thing, and there's at the moment, what's that one that's just come out? There was one originally, and there's a new one. Tale of Foxes or something like that, or Fox's
I
Tales?
think what you might be looking at is Fox in the Forest, which
Yeah.
is there's Fox in the Forest, which is already out,
And
and
then
then
Duet?
there's Duet is the one which
Yeah.
is just about to come
So
out.
basically, these games really appeal to me because they look kind of sweet, I guess.
I've got some news for you, Darryl. Fox in the Forest Duet is arriving tomorrow.
Ah!
So, yep, we're gonna have it. We're gonna have a copy of it. We'll give it a go.
It just looks like a nice game. Everyone seems to be kind of promoting it at the moment.
Yeah.
So who knows?
So, yep, I do have a copy of that on the way. So,
Yum, yum, yum.
yep.
Yum.
Talking about all these naturey kind of things, you know the ones.
Yep.
This comes from cbc.ca, which I think is Canada's.
It is Canada.
Things. Yeah. Winnipeg climatologist turns board game passion into climate change card game. Okay, so Tipping Point is the name of it.
Not to be confused with Tipping Point, the TV show.
No. What's the name of the guy that runs that?
I don't remember his
Ben
name.
Shepherd or something like
It's
that.
actually quite a good game show.
Is it? Oh, the one with the guy. I think I've
It's
seen
the
it,
giant
actually. The
machine
one
where
with the
you
coins.
put the
Yeah,
toy-
it's
basically
essentially those coin
The
machines that you
2p
see
machines,
at arcades. Yeah.
Which I think is anyone's first game, actually, an arcade, I would say, because you always just get shrapnel and put it in there.
But anyway, this is described as a climate change card game, which is semi-cooperative, where players build cities and protect citizens from severe weather that become more common as carbon dioxide accumulates in the air. It sounds like what happens is the actions you take on your turn
They have
can
consequences.
affect other people on their turn. So in other words, your actions could have consequences elsewhere. This article describes it like The Sims, but I think they mean SimCity.
Yeah, because there's
I
no
think-
actual... It doesn't look like you're concentrating on individual people, are you? It's more like an actual concept of like cities and stuff.
No, but it,
Oh yeah, any polluting they do might affect others. Well, some might experience severe weather patterns. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
but it's obviously a game that's built to inform people, I suppose, of the dangers of industrialism.
Yeah. Now,
Although I kind of feel like it's kind of a covered subject these days, but it doesn't harm at all to help bring more awareness.
No, the thing is, it might be an interesting game anyway, just because of the fact of the cause of your actions messing up other players,
Yeah.
and whether or not, I'm assuming you're not doing it maliciously, so
I'm assuming there's got to be an end goal to it where...
I imagine it's not going to be you stopped
Yeah, so...
making stuff.
I mean, you've basically got the quote from the developer, I think his name's Ryan Smith.
Actually, that looks quite good, man.
Yeah, who says, being environmentally friendly is difficult, right? If you want more forest and wetlands, that's all great, but it doesn't help feed your people at the end of the day. So,
I think this could be quite a good strategy element to this game.
I mean, to be honest, it sounds promising.
Mm.
I'm going to be keeping an eye out for
So
it.
I played a game quite a while back. I've still never brought this to you. The is it Evolution?
Evolution, yes.
So Evolution, there's a game where basically essentially you make creatures and critters, and one of the things that they added as a separate add-on was like a climate change one, which forced you to sort of change your animals depending on severe heat and severe cold. And I quite like that as a concept, that the games are adding these kind of realistic elements to them, where you would have to think about, do I need a fur coat because of the winter? Does that mean I'm going to have to restrict myself because I'm more fluffy now? It was kind of an interesting concept, but we'll play that game at some point.
Yeah, I definitely will be keeping an eye out for that. That is Tipping Point by, I think it was Ryan Smith, I think. Ryan Smith, yes. Cool. I think the last news story I want to cover in this episode of the podcast is Fantasy Flight Interactive are closing down.
Rest in peace.
They've actually only published one game.
The Lord of the Rings one.
The Lord of the Rings collectible card
Which
game.
weirdly is on a lot of formats.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised. I'm guessing... I think it said it reached number 226 in Steam's hot list.
Yeah, because I saw it on Steam. I've seen it on my phone. I've seen it on other things as well. There seems to be a lot of...
But it did say in the same article, it did discuss the fact that although it went straight in at number 226, it very quickly declined, which makes me think that it didn't really connect with people. Like, people that played it didn't really feel the need to stick around.
The problem is that I think that they didn't... The issue I've got is they haven't really done anything other than that. This is an issue for them in a way, because if they've only concentrated on one living card game, it's a bit of a weird issue, because you've got... who's the other one? Is it Asmodee Digital?
Yeah.
So they've got a lot. They've got
have.
Is it Scythe? No,
Yeah, no, that's not Asmodee.
Who does Scythe on the digital version of Scythe?
I'm not too sure. I don't think it's got anything to do with Stone Mayer Games. I don't think. Obviously, they own the rights to Scythe, but
basically, there's other alternatives on there, and essentially there's more. We did that Humble Bundle thing we were talking about.
We did,
that time.
yeah. I can't remember who made those games.
No,
anyway.
but basically it came with a load of options. And I think that's an issue sometimes when you're just concentrating on one. I know they don't want to branch out too much, but it's a bit of a sad thing if they've not been given a chance to kind of carry on.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where you think about the number of licenses that Fantasy Flight have.
Oh, yeah.
I probably would... I would think some of it is probably detrimental, because when you own movie rights... I know this one was a Lord of the Rings one, but when a lot of these places buy their licenses, they buy the licenses to just produce for one thing. So in other words, you might have the Star Wars license for making Star Wars board games, but that doesn't give you the license to go out and start making video
Digital
games of it and stuff
yeah.
like that. You tend to have to cut through a load of red tape. I was going to see if I could get in my Steam account to find out but I'm not logged in or anything at the moment.
That's fine.
I think to myself, there had to be a digital Keyforge game in the works somewhere.
Well, weirdly... Yes.
Because, I mean, you have the app and stuff like that, but...
Which is only really a tracker more than anything
It is a tracker.
'Cause
I'm
the weird
talking about
thing-
a playable game of it.
I know some stuff can't translate to playable games in a way. Like, I don't think Star Wars Destiny would necessarily be able to...
But again, I don't know how easy they would get around that with certain financial,
not
legal tape.
It's not so much that; it's more like the mechanics with the dice and stuff. I think would be kind of a bit of a.
You still have randomizers that would
True.
work the same way as dice.
But Pokemon and what do we play? Champions, Warhammer Champions, and Lightseekers. They've all got apps that essentially play exactly like the card
Yeah.
game plays, which is actually a really good way of playing with people if you don't actually have the time to take your decks to like actual places. So you can just play on your lunch break and stuff like that. So for them to sort of I feel like a Keyforge game needs to kind of happen.
Yeah, I mean, it might get handed off to other developers now to make them for them. I don't know what the issue was with it, whether they just didn't have the right development team, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know what it is. There's been few details as to why they're closing it down, but the fact that they've closed it down after only making one game means there must have been some serious problems there.
Yeah.
Because Fantasy Flight are by no means slowing down in terms of board game company.
No, 100%. I mean, this kind of actually ties into. They are releasing more X-Wing stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, they've only just announced it. They're releasing literally another wave of X-Wing Series 2, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's still new ships.
Yeah.
It's not the old ships they're rebranding in Season 2 again. They're literally bringing out more for the First Order, more for the Separatist Army, and more for the Old Republic. So it's like the Galactic Empire, whatever it's called. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because they're clearly not stopping.
Yeah.
Keyforge is still going. I think that's coming out again, like with another one soon.
They're already in their third season.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
But-
surprised if that doesn't keep happening. There's loads. There's loads of. I think the Lord of the Rings game's still kind of going a bit with the Journeys of Middle Earth. They're adding more to that.
Then they've got their Arkham Horror living
Yeah.
card game, which is going very strong still. I don't think Fantasy Flight did the new Marvel one that's just started.
Oh, well, that Champion.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Champions living card game. I'm not
No.
sure who's doing that one.
Or the miniatures. No, they did do one.
Did they?
They did either the miniatures one or they did the. I'm going to use my. What's this thing called?
Fantasy Flight seemed to be the kind of like the key producers of living card games, but I didn't think they did the Marvel Champions one.
Might not be Marvel Champions. It was, no, they did.
They did.
Wait, hold on, is that their logo? Yeah, it's their logo. They did Marvel
okay.
Champions.
I've heard that's very good.
Yeah, the thing is, so I got a little bit confused because Marvel Champions did look really, really decent.
Yeah.
But then they also brought out the Marvel Miniatures game.
Yeah.
And I was very confused whether or not it was one and the same thing. I did this with the Fallout board games. I could never tell which one was the real one. I ended up getting the Miniatures game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to have a go on that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I think that's all the news stories that we wanted to cover. I think, or was there was one you wanted to talk about, wasn't there? Perhaps not.
Was that not the...
Oh, it might be
That
what
was the
we.
Fantasy Flight, I think.
I think what we're going to do is move into... We haven't had any audience questions at all. So, if you would like to send an audience question to us, you can do at mailbag@everybodydice.com, and we will answer them on this very podcast. Well, not this very podcast, but the next very podcast. But yeah, I think we're running a bit low on time, so I might cut the We Make a Game segment this week.
We made a game, it was amazing.
Yeah, we'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah,
It's
do you know,
fine.
it's too many variables. It's amazing.
Yep, we're going to go straight into our main topic.
That sweet, sweet topic.
Yep, and that sweet topic this week is: can you make a profitable career out of tabletop gaming? I think we're talking about this mostly because we came across an article recently about DMs in
so
D&D.
it's by no means is it a new concept. But I stumbled across some threads and some stuff, and it was basically that they are becoming more of a thing. And I sort of was talking to you about this, and we kind of both agreed that it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like it's difficult to kind of, how would you go about paying for something that technically is... I know you're paying for someone's time, so you're paying almost like a workman in a way. You're hiring someone in order to tell a story. But then how would you go about justifying the prices. So like, would they be set by? Let's say me. Would I be setting my own price, or would I be set by a governing body? Do I get rated like Uber? If I have less ratings, do I get less money? If I have amazing ratings, do I get to charge more? So we were just having this massive debate on whether or not that's a thing, and it looks like, is it Wizards of the Coast doing D&D?
Wizards of the Coast do D&D, yes.
Yeah, so they have their own version of this, and it looks like there's a kind of a bit of negativity to it.
I've heard a lot of stories about the Wizards of the Coast kind of thing, because you have to go through kind of like all the checks and stuff like that to make sure that you're a competent DM, and then they have their own sets of rules to it. And interestingly enough, I've heard the stories about how they don't allow DMs to kill other players' characters even if they deserve it. Now, I can understand the concept of them not wanting killer DMs there that are out to kill people's characters.
But at the same time,
death is part of the game.
Death is part of the game because usually that affects some other part of the story. So, say we were to play a game and I was to die, but I had another character, it's fine. There may be a storyline where you guys can resurrect me, or depending on what we're playing,
avenge you,
yeah. Or I have bestowed upon you something because, and it adds to that story and it fleshes out the character's backstories more, because my character might have had an axe and I gave it to Stephen's character on my deathbed, and now he carries it around and it might have my soul trapped in it. There's loads of variables that could go into this, but then having that whole, okay, so you didn't die but you managed to walk away from the big old bad boy with your lives, and you're sort of like, well, you're going to become reckless. We said this.
You have to have risk there to be able to pin players back almost and make them make intelligent, thought-through decisions.
Yeah, because
otherwise it's just a case of, we just charge head-on and attack them every time, because you're not going to suffer any consequences for it.
Which is ridiculous, especially as well if your character archetype's like not that way inclined. If you're some sort of rogue or assassin type, or someone that is like a healer, what's the point?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to be doing your job. You might as well just go up and smack them with a stick, which is...
I mean, there are ways around it. Like, it could always be like, if they're losing the fight, you can punish them in a different way and things like that. But you still have to have that threat of your character could lose everything in this fight. There has to be that threat in order to make
a good story.
In order just to establish threat more than anything. Like, if all you're going to do is fail one individual mission and then move on to the next mission or something like that, I think the threat of losing what is important to you, which is your character, has to be a thing.
Thing is, if like, I'm guessing the no death mechanic. I'm not sure if you can tiptoe around the fact that you could probably lose appendages.
Yeah,
because that would be a way of punishing them. But then at the end of the day, if they're constantly fighting and each one of them's missing a part, it's not going to be fun for them. And it's sort of...
It's funny, like, the most brutal thing I ever heard of in a game that I heard of before... sorry, I'm wording this wrong. Where they were describing a game that they'd had was that someone had their alignment changed. That sounds more harsh than killing off the character whatsoever, because what the DM is then doing then is forcing them to play the way they don't want to play. Like, if they want this character that is a lawful good or something like that,
to become
and then gets turned into whatever other alignment they've got. That's a massive change. Like, you're screwing with their character at that point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would turn them into a frog or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's things like that.
Stuck with that consequence.
Yeah.
So this was the thing. Like, there's obviously ways around it. If they're not going to die, they could definitely get possessed or poisoned or something like that. A game-changing effect that wouldn't necessarily mean they are dead, but their character is changed as a punishment.
Yeah. I think we're kind of getting off point here anyway. What we were talking about was...
Can you make money?
Can you make money off of these things? And it turns out that you can if you're a good enough DM. And I think that is the thing you have to be a good enough DM for. I couldn't do it.
No, 100%. And this was the other thing we were discussing. How would you go about doing that?
Like you said, like some sort of Uber rating system.
Yeah, realistically, I mean, I'm assuming... I mean, I will look into it and maybe get back to you on this, but I imagine there has to be a rating system, because there's no way I'd be paying 25 quid, let's say it's that, 25 quid for a guy that does a really bad story, and you don't have fun. And you're like, well, you know, that's great, but like we wasted our time. We could have gone for someone that was higher rated. But then at the same time, there'll be negative effects like that because people do this with Uber and rating on restaurants and stuff like that. They tend to badmouth it because they had a bad experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their entire group had a bad experience.
Yeah.
So this is the problem. It's vocal people that maybe hated the way that their character turned out, you know, and they go, do you know what? It was a 3. I give him a 3 out of 5, and then everyone else is rated him high, and then they check out, and it lowers his average score or her average score or whoever's, and you just.
I think it would have to be a whole thing of you wouldn't be able to simply give a star rating and that's it. I think you'd have to give reason as to why as well, so people can look at why they rated them, say, low, or why they rated them high, because then someone can look at that and say, oh, well, they didn't like that because they wanted a light-hearted storyline and the storyline they did was very dark or something like that, and then someone else could say, well, actually, I'd quite like a darker storyline, and so you say, well, that rating shouldn't really affect how we want, what we want out of them, put it that way. I think one of the biggest things, one of the issues I see with it is the idea that how do you pay these people? Do you pay them per session? If not, if you are paying them to run a longer campaign, are they paid by the night? Are they paid by the overall campaign length? Are you taking a risk by not knowing them and them suddenly saying, do you know what, I'm kind of done with this DMing thing?
Yeah.
And then you never being able to finish your campaign? I mean, don't get me wrong, I see a lot of positives to come from this. For example, how often do you get together with a group of friends and say, hey, do you want to play this RPG? Or something like that. And you all want to play it. You don't necessarily want to DM it. And you would rather play with your group of friends and have someone else DM, but that gives you that freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah, it really takes out the. I mean, that was one of the nice things about what they changed with Imperial Assault, where they had the app-based version of it, which essentially takes out the DM. So essentially, me playing the Imperial that 1 or 2 times we played it, I could now actually play a fully played game and just have the app doing its thing. It kind of does the same with the Lord of the Rings game.
Yep.
The app and what was the one you
Mansions
like
of
playing?
Madness.
Mansions of Madness. It takes away that element of needing a 4th person or a 5th person or however many people you've got to kind of sit there and rule it out and stuff, which is a nice concept.
Yeah. How about other things other than RPGs?
Yeah, I was literally just about to go into that.
Like, obviously, you've got the obvious things like if you decide to open a board game shop, of course, you can make a profit off of tabletop gaming that way by opening up events as well and being able to play them out. If, unlike us, you have a successful YouTube channel, you can also make money off it. Yep. If you successfully monetize it. So I imagine, like, through things like Let's Plays and things like that.
Yeah, true.
You can make a fair bit of money. However, I think on YouTube, it's really only that upper tier that really managed to make
you
a
need to
career
get to a
out of
certain
it.
point, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, I mean, on the same subject you were saying a second ago, I think like board game cafes are a good idea.
Yep.
They're sort of few and far between at the moment.
They're not really. I think they're not very well represented where we live.
No.
We did have one here, which very unfortunately got closed down.
There's one in Southampton that's been there since 2016, so it's doing fairly well.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know why that one.
It
didn't
was
work.
not there for very long.
No.
I don't think it was even there for a year.
Which is a shame
I
because
think.
it was mostly backed by Kickstarter.
It
which
was.
actually really, again, it's a good part of Kickstarter. They had a brilliant selection. Everyone knew what they were doing. They served a bit of food. They had like.
They did something. I think what happened was they messed around with their pricing system, and I think a lot of people weren't very happy with it.
Oh, okay. Because originally it was not a bad deal. You got like 4 hours for so much. I think
Yeah, and I think they changed it. And I remember talking to a friend of mine who he was planning on going down there a lot with his family and stuff, and then they changed some pricing, and it didn't make it financially viable for him to go down and play games with his family there anymore. I know they definitely did something that annoyed quite a few people, but it's still sad because
it's sad to lose some sort of miniature kind of game place.
Yeah,
which is, but yeah. So we're lucky. We have about 4. I think I can think of 4 or 5 gaming shops, which all host events. Some charge, some don't to rent out tables.
Yep.
some do events where you pay but you get prizes. So you know, just general stuff like that. Having a community that works as a sort of way to pay the bills.
There's not really much. Well, actually, I suppose there is. You have professional poker players. I would say that's kind of more falls into the lines of gambling. Like, you can be a professional poker player. It's not like you could be a professional Settlers of Catan player and make money off it.
You can be a professional Pokemon player, though, because some of the finalists win serious money.
Yeah.
So tournaments
mind you,
for that kind of
that's
stuff.
with, like, card games and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
suppose,
which, at the end of the day...
but,
I mean,
yeah,
I
it's
know
still part of the tabletop gaming hobby.
Yeah, I mean...
You have to be insanely good, though.
100%, and some of the decks I've seen come out of the championship stuff's been crazy. And the people, there's like the junior section, they're insane, and they are still taking home wads.
Yes.
You know, enough money. I think this is the thing. There isn't an MLG of board gaming. Realistically, there are for little things, but there isn't like you say, a Settler Catan
It's
Major League Gaming that is like backed by Virgin Games or Virgin Media or something like that. And
I think it's because board games are just fun to play.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start making it too competitive, it will probably lose a lot of its appeal to a lot of people.
100%. This is the thing. I think that's much more easier with card games.
Yes.
Because it's easier to build your deck, pay for your deck. If it's a living card game, create your deck out of what everyone else has resource-wise. You know, that
I think solely building a career on playing board games is not viable.
not in a competitive stance.
No.
No.
I don't think it is. I don't think it ever will be. Although I would love to see a World Series of Men at Work, of just people
Oh my god, that'd be so good.
just
You
getting
join-
super
you join us
competitive
now.
over it.
On the 5th round, we have Mikowski versus Steven.
Mikowski goes to place the girder, and
He's sweating.
he's sweating, and
He falls out!
oh,
That's going to be a minus point to one of his health and safeties.
Yep.
Shit, we should make this. We should do like little tournaments and do commentary on it.
Oh god.
That could be another option. Yeah, generally, yes, board gaming can lead to financial gain for people.
But I think you have to be creative with it,
Yeah, I mean, there are...
or very business savvy.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I mean, we're doing this as kind of a starting into situation. We're not going into, well, business mode to kill everything and try and,
Join our Patreon.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
you can find at
Please!
patreon.com/everybodydice, where you could get our monthly newsletter and vote on our video review poll. I'm really straining here. God, this is
Video
really
remote.
selling it, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically, you get to influence our world.
Our output.
Yeah, so essentially you control us. We are your puppets. Do with us what you will. With that being questions, ideas for the board game creation.
Yep.
Just general stuff like that. I think at some point we were thinking about doing more
One of the things we're looking
realistic
into,
stuff for real world.
I don't mind saying this right now, but we're trying to work out the logistics of it at the moment and how we can actually make it work. But we are hoping to set up kind of like game days.
Yes.
So you can come down and play whatever games we're currently into and what games we're currently reviewing or looking to review, so you can get kind of insight
Hell,
into
if
that.
you've got a game and you need 4 more people
Yeah.
or 3 more people, we can be
I
that.
mean, this isn't really even just for patrons, really. We just want to give patrons first refusal of what they're playing and stuff like that.
yeah.
So in other words, they come along, they say, we'd quite like to play this.
A fast
and,
pass ticket, basically.
Yeah, they get to sit in and play the game with us. Everyone else has to be a bit more patient.
We're working on this.
we
This
are-
is a concept we're working on.
It is a concept we're working on, and we'll have details probably on the Patreon page. So even if you're interested in that and not really interested in backing us until then you can keep an eye on that Patreon page, and we'll have announcements and things like that about that on there. Also, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do at Everybody Dice on Twitter and at Everybody Dice Show on Instagram. If you would like to find all of our stuff, it's all available on one place on everybodydice.com. We're actually working on written content again, so we know we've been a little bit lazy with that, but we have a couple of pieces in the works which are almost ready to post on there. Apart from that, please like, share, comment and subscribe. Check out our old videos if you've just found us and you're looking for something else to watch. Apart from that, I think all there is to say goodbye. So from me, bye-bye.
Do you know what? We did like a catchphrase we can end on. Keep on gaming! Bye. No, but seriously, keep on gaming.